not planning to be live, that's for sure. So let's see who logs on. For anybody jumping on, yes, I have said bye to the Bay Area of California. I am still in California. I am just no longer in the Bay Area. Let me make that distinction. There is a lot of California. There is miles and miles and miles of California. And guess what? A lot of it is farmland or like wilderness or national forests. Leaving the cityfied area of the Bay Area does not naturally equate to running over the border of California as quickly as I can get out of there. But as soon as I closed that storage unit, like literally that night, I turned the key and I pointed my way right out of the Bay Area. Alright, hi, people are jumping on. Sorry, the camera's so squishy squashy. And just because people are going to ask, Mickey is right there. He just got finished eating some dinner. And now he's in his little scratchy box that he loves. Grooming himself. There's Mickey. Mickey. Hi, buddy. How you doing? I know people are going to jump into the chat later and be like, where's Mickey? And I'm like, I showed him earlier. I swear. I'm sorry you weren't here. He's a cat. He's very independent. Sometimes he goes, and does his own thing. Let me see. Okay, we got a lot of hellos in the house. Says LOL, no turning back. Okay, I'm gonna guess that's Chivea. I don't know how to pronounce that. There will be turning back because there are people I like in the Bay Area. Like, unless everybody I know and like as a human being moves out to the Bay Area, there will always be returns to the Bay Area because people who I consider, very close friends to family like are in the Bay Area. Like, I will always have attachments there. California weirdness aside, it is like one of my favorite places, but I still get, and that's how I felt like since the show closed. When the show was still going, it was like, okay, well, I have a job here, and so like getting the storage unit in that area made sense, and it made it easy to have like a place to sort of center sort of my building supplies while I was working. When the job ended, when my contract to that show ended, and I did have another show lined up, but I'm no longer on that show. When my contract ended, and the only reason I was there was that stupid storage unit, and I couldn't really leave because I wasn't at a point where I could put everything in the box truck, that's when I felt trapped, and I could not wait to get rid of that storage unit. So I don't mind, like, hey, I'm going to go visit my friend, and so I am going to the Bay Area to spend time with people I like, or I have a job there. That's great. But feeling trapped there doing, like, the part of the build that happened after the show closed, like, was, like, suffocating. Like, and I think, like, I've learned that, I'm truly, like, nomadic. Like, I just like that freedom to leave. And I've been at truck stops or like parking lots. I was at a Denny's parking lot or a rest area, which is where I am at right now, for the past couple days. So I haven't been anywhere where I could like make camp and stay, but just the idea that I have left and I am on the road is like so exciting to me right now. So yeah, it just feels good. It feels like I'm back to like myself in this wonderful way. So yeah, that was just me rambling for a little bit. We got a hello from Virginia. Penny says you have 42 witnesses, LOL. I see a little Mickey You're So Fine song. Hey, Sammy. um, I am Princess Pamela. I am not headed north. I'm headed south right this second. So I'm not headed north towards Oregon at all. I'm heading very much in the other direction. So yeah. Sean H says, my storage unit is my docking port. Keep all my tools there. Reason why I don't want to keep my tools in a storage unit is because I always need them. And so I absolutely hate if I'm 3 states away and I know I own a tool I need or any kind of supply I need, and the stupid thing is in a storage unit that I can't access. And like, if I can't carry it in the box truck, including tools, I don't want to own it. Like, if I can't logic a way to carry it in the box truck with me, I don't want to own it. And I felt the same way in my Chevy van. I felt the same way in my minivan. Even when I was mostly in the same city, I hated the idea that any stuff kept me obligated to a storage unit. And I know other people feel differently about it, but it's like, you never know when stuff happens and you're going to need a tool. So I don't like the idea that any tool I have is not with me. And that I would have to go get it. So like, that's why I said there was no way I was going to like leave stuff in the storage unit and go somewhere else. When I left, everything I owned was going to be with me. Because I find when I leave stuff behind, that's the moment I need it. And if I find I don't need it frequently enough, it's time to get rid of it. So I live by that logic. I hate the idea of having a storage unit or having anything in it. And that's just me. I'm not saying it's the right way to operate. I'm saying it's the way I operate, basically. If I can't logic a long-term use for a tool, it needs to be sold or given away. There's no reason to put it in a storage unit. Now, if somebody has like a job specifically connected to tools or some other sort of reasoning for it, it may make sense to them. If I had now this is where my situation would change, just because it puts me in that state of mind of something I've been thinking about. If I had a rented space that was my dedicated space where I could actually live for rest periods, like if I was renting, a little like RV lot type space, not necessarily an RV lot type space, and a shed, I might leave stuff behind in a situation like that. A storage unit, luckily the one I just moved out of, it was actually sad saying goodbye to that storage unit because I liked the owners so much and they were so awesome. But it still wasn't a place where I could for sure go and settle and work. So I had like a shed and a rented spot where literally I could park for days and nobody would make me leave. And had a shed there where I could store things that I felt like I didn't need on the road with me all the time. That is the only situation, because then it has the bonus of I can go back here and park here and stay for an extended amount of time. And I've never felt that way with a storage unit. It's just felt like this extra thing. If I'm actually traveling, most of the time it's going to be far away from me. And I hate feeling obligated and tied to that. Like, it gives me icky feels. As far as where I'm going, all I'm going to say right now is I'm headed south. I have this weird thing about talking about some things ahead of time. But I have headed in a southerly direction, and I am still in California. I'm just not in the Bay Area anymore. At all. I'm several hours outside of the Bay Area. Provost family says, hi from this crazy place called Sydney. What is up? The Who Within says, oh, Dawn, I know how you feel. I got out of SAC and into El Dorado Forest, and I can't wait to get back out. I know the feeling. Roger Smith says, hi, Furbutt and Dawn. I'm assuming Furbutt is the cat. I'm putting up the walls in my van tomorrow. Slow progress. Howdy from Wyoming. Hello to you. Ricardo, hello from Sacramento, CA. I actually went towards the Sacramento area before I left. I wasn't in Sacramento, but I went towards that area before I left. Barefoot and Badass, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thanks for keeping me company, Dawn and Mickey. I had oral surgery today. Oh my God. I'm so tired, but I can't sleep until the bleeding stops, so you're keeping me company. Happy to do so. Catherine Williams says, hi from Texas, a place I need to visit at some point. That is on my, it's on my not bucket list, sort of bucket list, because I don't have a specific place. I'm just like, I've been through Texas, and it's one of those, I've been through it, but I don't feel like I've been there kind of states. Also, I know, like, Jelena, like, she's hardcore pro Texas, so it's, like, on my place to visit list. But it's another one of those places, like California, that's so big, it's really hard to conceive of, like, what is the most effective way to visit it. Because if you go to one city in Texas, it's so big, everything's bigger in Texas, that it's like, you know, should I hit all the major cities? Should I be looking for, like, specific sites? Like, Texas is one of those places I'm really excited about for some reason, random reason, I don't know. Charles Hart says, Universal highly and highly at the DawnofVanlife. So happy for you and totally understand. Thank you. Colleen the cat lady, yay, says hello to Dawn and Mickey. Mickey is back to hanging out with me today. I can't believe it. He's usually like, he's been sleeping the last couple live streams, and today he's like, he's right here. Let me show him. Okay, let me show him off again. There he is. Mickey, say hi to your fans. He's just looking at me. He's like, my buddy, my big boy. He likes to sit on top of the fridge. I don't know if it's, you know, what it is. He really likes to sit on top of the fridge, which can be complicated when he's spread out, and I need to use it as a step, and he wants to use it as a bed, and he always gets annoyed when I'm like, all right, dude, I need to get in the fridge. I'm going to have to pick you up, and I'll pick him up and move him. And he looks at me like, for real? Why? Charpart says, I can't stand staying in one place longer than 4 months. That's before I got completely to the point of not tolerating stagnation. I know how that feels. Risa says, I was just watching the last live replay, and here you are. Well, I'm glad you got to jump onto this one while live. Vinny says, congratulations, you finished with the storage unit. Happy trails. Hello to everyone. And thank goodness. Also, that storage unit was costing me $224 a month. So I'm glad to say bye-bye, storage unit. That $224 a month. I do need to start putting money into savings. It was really hard to save, trying to build the BoxTruck and save at the same time. And the savings I had when my catalytic converter got stolen and then I had to replace it, like the savings I had basically went into that. So now the big thing is like really working on building up my savings again, which I think is going to be more critically important since I'm still hitting a wall on insurance. And honestly, I'm just taking a break from it. I do have liability commercial insurance, and that's it. And I gave them a call, and I was like, can I add roadside assistance? Because I was having a really hard time finding roadside assistance that would tow the truck. And I've read a bunch of situations where you cannot depend on AAA roadside if you have a conversion, and you cannot depend on like Good Sam and a lot of the RV roadside providers that you can get independent of insurance are very specific about not towing conversions. Even if the DMV has called, the DMV certification can be disregarded. Just to say it, it can be disregarded by these providers. If it's started out its life as like an ambulance or a bus or even a commercial van like a Sprinter or Ford Transit, it can be disregarded by these providers. Now, if you have something that appears a little more like something that might have been made at a factory, whether it was or not, it may slip through the cracks. Now, with AAA plus RV, number one, AAA is not one entity. What AAA basically has is different clubs. Under their official policy, they do not tow anything that started out commercial, even if it has been converted to an RV under their quote-unquote official policy. That doesn't mean in some cases people with vans who've had them converted to RVs haven't still been able to use the service. When I had my Chevy van, and it was just a regular van, despite all the crap in the back of it, even though it is in the same weight class as a cargo van, because it was a passenger van, it was covered under regular AAA for everything, including towing. So even though the Chevy van, for all size purposes, is the same size as a Chevy cargo van, because it was a conversion passenger van, not a van conversion, but you know what's called a conversion van, which is basically a passenger van that's made fancy on the inside, but has the same body as a cargo van, because it came out of the factory as a van to be sold to somebody who has a family or go on trips and had a bunch of seats in it. For passengers as a passenger van, it would have been covered by regular AAA. The exact same size class of that van, if it was commercial, could be, now it might have slipped through the cracks, but it could have been denied by AAA. So after doing a lot of research, the scariest stories I heard was where people had roadside assistance, they had RV insurance, like they've been approved for all that, but then something happened, and it's usually almost always with towing. Like AAA with this truck, with regular AAA, which I've decided to keep, if I needed a jump and I was on a regular road, they would come out and jump me. If I had a battery and I literally needed a new battery under my current AAA, they'd come out and bring me a battery. The biggest problem seems to be in regards to towing and very strict rules on what can and can't be towed. And so when I called my insurance, I was like, fine, I have commercial insurance. Let me see if at least for right now, I can add roadside assistance, and I'll make them my last resort, because I don't want my insurance company like trying to say, oh, you called us like a billion times for like a dead battery and fuel recharge and stuff. But I'm like, if I need a tow, I want something. So I call them up and I'm like, hey, can I add roadside assistance to my my insurance? You're like, what's that going to cost? Honestly, didn't care. I just wanted to know I could get towed in an emergency. Sorry, I'm missing the chat while I'm saying all this. And they were like, oh, we actually don't tow your class of vehicle. At which point I was like, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm going to keep the liability insurance that I currently have, just so I'm legally able to drive. Which at the very least, covers the vehicle if the worst happens. It covers the other person mostly if the worst happens. And I need to build up my savings account. And I will say this has been the toughest point, the toughest bit of the choice to go with a commercial class vehicle. For right now, I just need a break from dealing with this. There are some people who have pointed out, maybe there is a way to change the VIN through the California Highway Patrol. Somebody said I need to go to the Highway Patrol. As far as I know, you shouldn't even go near the Highway Patrol unless the DMV sent you there. And I can find nothing online about changing a VIN except that changing a VIN is illegal. Because I did do some research, and every time I dive into this research, all I see is changing a VIN is illegal. DMV issued new tags, and I am registered in their system as a motorhome, so my fees and associated registration in California is as a motorhome and no longer as a commercial vehicle, but that does not automatically qualify me for the RV insurance of my choice. And I even contacted a RV insurance company that's not in this state, and at first they thought they could do something, but then when they consulted higher ups, they came back and said, actually, we don't cover these type of conversions. And so after a company that specifically insures RVs, that is a out-of-state company that looked at photos and were able to make an independent decision, said no, I was like, I just need a break from this. Like I am insured, I am allowed to legally drive this, and I really need to work on building up my savings account and breathe for a little bit. So yeah, I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but there we go. I'm gonna scroll through some more comments because they've just been coming and I've been like just talking my head off. The Who Within also says they hate having a storage unit. Risa Forrester says, oh wait, is the storage unit empty? The storage unit was emptied out Monday night. On Tuesday morning, I dropped off the last couple of things that I wasn't keeping, that was going back to somebody else. And by the end of Tuesday, I was a couple hours outside of the bay. So yeah. Sean H says, I'm a working carpenter. Exactly. That's what I said. If you have a work reason, I understand it. So I have too many to fit in my minivan. Yeah. Yeah, I know a guy, I met a guy who was a mechanic out in Baltimore, and he worked out of his minivan, and it was like really slick the way he set it up, so he had all his tools back there, but like that's all that's back there is like his tools. Like it's dedicated, that space is like dedicated to his tools. So it was another type of conversion, but it was really cool the way he had it pimped out. Kimber Beardsley, I guess I'm saying you're in. Have you done a van tour yet? That is actually on my list. I made a list of things to talk about, and I have not done a tour. And the reason I have not done a tour is I am not ready yet. The BoxTruck is not in the done state that I would like it to be for touring. There are things I need to do specifically about electrical, plumbing, and the gas lines, the propane lines, still not done because I stopped focusing on all of that so that I could get out of the storage unit. Because I was like, I'm at the point where everything I have to do, I can put in the BoxTruck and take with me and do down the road if I want to. But I am not ready to tour it. Also, I didn't want to tour it in a parking lot. I didn't want to tour it someplace I didn't find aesthetically pleasing. So one, there's aesthetically pleasing stuff I'd like to do to the BoxTruck. This includes the final floor. The final floor is not down yet. So that's one of like a few things on the list that I want to take care of, which I will when I'm a little bit settled, which I'm not right now. Like I said, I've spent the past couple of days after I closed the storage unit, truck stops, rest areas, parking lots. So I'm not ready to tour it. When I am ready, there will be a tour. When I feel like I'm in that place. On Sundays, I am still continuing to show how I did the build. So this Sunday, part 2 of doing my installation is going to be put out. So my van build diary will continue. And the tour, probably it makes the most sense to come at the end of that. Since I'm all the way back to, I'm still on installation when it comes to those van build diaries. I can't say when the tour is going to be done. And I may shoot the tour early when I feel like I've done the last few aesthetic things I want to do before I tour it. But I'm not there yet. It's my house. I want to show my house off in the state that makes me comfortable. And I don't want to jump the gun and then feel like I need to do another tour in 2 weeks later. And also I want a pretty place to tour it. I want to have fun shooting it. I don't want to feel rushed or like pressured to do it. And I still have I have bags of stuff like that I still need to do. Like all this This bag right here is full of like project stuff I still need to do. Sorry, Mickey. This bag right here is full of project stuff that I need to do. And that's just the stuff I shoved into the van so I could go. Pretty much. So I could get out of the storage unit. So I did not have to pay $224 next month. I needed to get out of the storage unit, and I needed the freedom to just like leave and breathe. And yeah, that's where I am with that. Stephanie Simmons says, will you video your trip? I will. I'm always shooting video. What those videos are going to turn into, I never know. Like, to be quite honest. Sunday is still dedicated to build videos. There's not really anything to shoot. Like I said, I'm stopping at like, it's me driving, stopping at a rest stop. Driving, stopping at a truck stop. It's not like I'm headed to like some campground or something like that. What might happen is that the content of, Friday videos, which is where I used to put a subject video, quote unquote, might shift a little bit so that those are sort of my real-time updates. If that makes any sense. It probably doesn't. Sunday is going to stay the van build series. Like, Sunday is dedicated to the van build series that is still ongoing. So part 2 of Insulation is going to be coming out this Sunday. But Fridays, which I was making sort of a subject video, because those were kind of like current videos anyway. So I would talk about something that was very current on that day. Rather, it was talking about like the Ever Shower or whatever. My subject videos, as I was calling them. So those days might be more a current update type thing. And it may be about, hey, this is what traveling this week was like, or it may be something else. But that whatever happens on Friday is like current state of events, whereas Sunday is van build and Wednesday is alive. So yeah. That's a weird answer to that question. Risa Farster says, you're driving. Yay, smart not to say where you're headed ahead of time because for safety reasons on the internet, etc. Absolutely. Eva says, how are things going, Dawson? I'm going to assume that was a mistake. Because I'm like, who's Dawson? Risa Farsa says, I realize I missed my chance to be a mod in the last live one of these days. I need to write that down because the thing is I need my laptop out to do it, and I have to dig that out. It's buried right now. I'm seeing a lot of recommendations for people for places to visit in Texas. Chanel Perez says, my driveway is open if you make it to Southeast Texas. That's good to know. Marie Turner says, good evening to you and Mickey from Baltimore, my hometown. Which I need to head back to at some point. Not right now. Not right now. I'm not ready to take the box truck that far yet. And I am staying on the highway right now because this is really the first long distance driving I'm doing with this truck. And so this gives me a better chance to feel it out before I go driving off into the bush somewhere and then get stranded. But it's been doing good so far. Charles Hart says, it's like Mickey was depressed you weren't traveling, LOL. He's a nomad too. Yeah, that's why he was hiding in all the live streams. He's like, we ain't doing nothing but sitting here. So I'm going to go sit somewhere. Des! Oh my God! Thank you for the $2.50 super chat! Oh, that's so much. She says, I'm super stoked I made a live. I am too. I'm happy you got your storage unit cleaned out. The progress on your build is excellent. So proud of you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Des. I'm so slow. Tina the Outsider says, I need an easy solar kit setup just for my fridge. Tina, we need to connect. Because I could probably help you with that. It's just hard to do things from a distance. So yeah, I need to figure out how I can help you with that. Getting a solar setup for your fridge. Sean H said, my mate with a box truck paid $1,150 to be towed 20 miles on a Sunday. Oh my God, that sucks. And that is why staying on top of maintenance, not that prevents everything, is also a super high priority. Like staying ahead of as many problems as possible is a super high priority. That being said, every time I've like walked away from the box truck to like go to the bathroom at a rest stop, or like go in a gas station store or whatever, and then walked back and seen my truck, even though it isn't perfect, even though honestly there's a lot about this truck on the outside that is still really ugly, I get so happy. So the struggles, the insurance, the trying to find a roadside assistance program, and mind you, there are commercial roadside assistance options, but they're like $300-400 because they're designed for people who have like fleets of trucks. And I don't know, maybe $400 is for a year is worth it to know I can get towed in an emergency. I don't know. But for now, it's just like my brain needs a break from trying to figure out my best options. And also, I could just try to find another commercial insurance that will give me roadside assistance. That's also an option. It's just not something I even want to wrap my brain around right now. Because my biggest fear is needing a tow. And what that will cost. And that's before the thing is repaired, assuming it's something that would need to be investigated. My biggest fear right now is ever needing a tow. I'm scrolling now. Griffin Girl, thank you for $5 super chat. I definitely need to go to the savings. Penny Walter says, insurance, what a headache. Absolutely. Risa Foster says, sounds like you took a pause for a worthy cause. Hopefully. I think it was for my sanity, because for my sanity, I just couldn't deal with this anymore. And I will say, I forgot. It just left my brain. Theresa said, I agree with your decision about the insurance. Thank you. Who said it? Lynn says, I'm looking forward to the van tour when Dawn is ready. Of course, thank you. Demelia J said, hi, Dawn from Oxon Hill, Maryland. I have family in Oxon Hill. My dad's side of the family is in that area. Carla Walker, thank you for reminding everybody to give this live a like. Cheryl Harrison says, we get it, no tour, stop repeating yourself. I keep repeating myself because the question keeps coming up. And so, obviously, there are people who have not received the answer to that question. Therefore, you know, what are you going to do? People keep asking, and then they're like, you never answered my question. So sometimes, like, that's just part of being on YouTube. Not everybody hears everything. Some people, you know, they weren't on the last live, and they're on this one. Every single live, I get asked about a tour. Every single time, I give the same answer. And then still, the next time, I get asked about if the tour already happened, and when am I going to do it? Like, those are consistent questions. So, unfortunately, they probably will end up getting answered every single time. And that's just, you know, it is a part of the nature of what this thing that YouTube is. Demelia J says, I like your haircut, so cooling. Thank you so much. I'm going to close my window because this guy keeps walking past and looking at my house. Like, none of your business, dude. I'm at a rest stop. I can talk if I want to. I just dropped my curtain. Like, stop staring at me. Yeah, I'm sitting here in my truck talking to a screen. Penny Walter says, I think it's a good idea to take some time for yourself. You've been working hard and living in a construction zone for a while. Yes. Enjoy the break, smell some roses or the ocean. Yes. And if I smell roses or the ocean, you guys will get a video about it. Jules the agent says, come to New Mexico. We have great weather for your building. You can use my electricity for free. Thank you so much. Janice says, did I I can't say words. When did this live start? It started from right now with me speaking 37 minutes ago. Oh shoot, I'm waiting to see her joy when she sees the super chat. Did I miss a super chat? Carolyn Freebird asks if I am heading up to Oregon. I am headed in the opposite direction. I am south, not north. And as we all know, for the protection of everything, I'm not going to be specific. I'm going to say I headed south, not north. I would like to go north because Jelena's up there and I do want to see her, but I have reasons for going south first. I see Griffin Girl representing Columbia, Maryland. That is definitely the home zone. Oh, maybe they're talking about Dez. Yeah, because I did see Dez's. Okay, I'm late. I'm later than everybody else. Yes, Dez was amazing. Absolutely freaking amazing. Okay, is it Lantion? Am I saying that right? It says if you're ever in Greenville, South Carolina, my driveway is open with a hookup electrical hookup. Awesome. Jana says, are you coming into SoCal? I am still in California and I am headed south. So yes. Vaguely saying yes, I'm going down to southern end. I mean, if you want to stay in the United States and you head south in California, all that's left is California. You gotta go north for it to be anything else, unless you cross the border into Mexico, which I am not doing because I honestly do not know where my passport is. I have the passport card, which gets me into Mexico and Canada, but not anywhere else. Like if I wanted to leave the country on like a plane or anything, I couldn't use it for that, but it'll get me into Canada and Mexico, at least if the borders are open. I don't know what the Canada situation is right now, but I don't know where my passport is anyway. Like there's stuff I still have not gone through properly. Like I have a bin full of papers that I just put in here, and I was like, when I'm ready to like organize this, I will. I need to do a clothing purge. I haven't done a clothing purge yet. I just have everything kind of packed up in bins right now and put in the storage area that I have underneath my bed. So there's stuff I need to go through. So my passport is either in the bin that has all my papers that I need to purge and decide what needs to be kept and what needs to be trashed, or it's in my book bag, which is full of papers, where I need to decide what needs to be kept and what needs to be trashed. So it's in one of those two places. I'm reading because I'm behind, so I'm trying to catch up to the chat as much as possible. So sometimes I'm just reading and I'm just not reading it out loud. Risa says, now I'm sorry I rescheduled my trip to LA. Oh, could have met you in Hermosillo Beach? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Chrissy Young says, guess what, Dawn? Because of you, I bought a Jackery. It's for my CPAP machine, sleep apnea. I love it. Took it camping, and it worked like a peach. I think that is. I'm so happy that it worked for you. I mean, Jackery builds good machines. A lot of the criticisms of Jackery are relevant, but for my personal daily use, I haven't found them to be remotely problematic. In real life, there are specs that you can throw out there and say, well, this thing has this and Jackery doesn't have that, or I wish Jackery improved on this, or there are things Jackery does with the unit I don't like I still want more 12-volt ports. Like, I think it's totally crappy they only have one on something as big as the 1500 and the 2000. Even the 1000, why does it have one 12-volt port? Like, that's dumb. Like, the Blue Eddy 800 watt has 3. Now, 2 of them you have to get an adapter for, but it has 3. And Jackery's 1000 watt unit has 1. That is dumb. But all that being said, they do exactly what they promise they will do. If that's not the features you want, I totally understand going with another one, but there's nothing that's a lie about what they're selling. It's just an argument about, from different perspectives, if it's worth it and worth the cost. And I personally love my Jackeries. So I'm glad somebody else is enjoying the product. Janice says, yes, I agree with you that people shouldn't get irritated over the same question. People do come at different times and they catch different free feeds. Exactly. Angela says, sorry I'm late. It's okay. Lisa says, come to Western Washington someday and I will hook you up to free electric and in 20 minutes and all 4 directions to everything, LOL. It looks like I got like invitations all over the place. Dad says, do you have any plans to visit camping sites and do camping videos? Eventually. That is not the purpose of this particular direction I'm going in. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. I have a particular reason for heading in the direction that I'm going in, which I will talk about later. And before I go out in the middle of quote unquote nowhere, with the truck, there are things I want to get done. But I don't necessarily have to do those in the Bay Area, so I was like, I'm getting out of here. There are things I want to get done where if something goes wrong, let me put it that way, I ain't got to get out of a camp area to get to help. And when I feel comfortable, a little more comfortable that in that, then I'll be ready to make that shift to more remote sort of exploring. J.R. Raven says static in Southern. Scott is in. Okay, then I need to reach out to Scott. I didn't know he was in Southern California. I've seen some videos pop up. I just haven't had time to keep up with all his videos. There's a lot of people's videos I haven't had time to keep up with right now. Kelly K says, I'm trying to get her to Colorado for the Gutted event in 3 weeks. I want to go back to Colorado. I had a good time in Colorado. Colorado, when I crossed the country, Colorado was one of those places I stayed longer than I stayed in other states. And I still didn't feel like I was there long enough. And I would say the two places I felt that was Colorado and Utah. Both of those places had like beautiful places I wanted to stay longer that I want to return to at some point. Janice says, if you got your new driver's license, you can get into Mexico. If you're talking about the real ID, I've had that for a while. I don't want to go to Mexico right now. I don't have any interest in going to Mexico right now. Carolyn Freebird says, I heard Canada opened the border last week. I think it was. I think by the time I head to Canada, I can feel pretty confident I can keep going. Tina's like, she might go, I'm going to say this in the third person, she being me, might go by and hang out with Scott. That would be neat to see again. Yeah, I met him at Chrome's thing in Canada. So when I went to Canada for not even a whole day and then had to come back because I had a job, I was working a Christmas show, but I wanted to go to Chrome's thing. So that was probably one of the most intense driving I did. I still had the minivan at the time. And I made my way up to Canada so I could meet Chrome in person. And then I was so intimidated, I could barely get string words together. And because I had to come back for work, I didn't even get to stay like until the next day. I basically almost had to turn around and come back. Carolyn Freebird said, what's a passport card? Is the process any different to obtain? Any info is appreciated. So the passport card is about the same size of like a driver's license or any other kind of card. It's about the same process to get it. The difference is it's cheaper than a passport book. I like it because it fits in a wallet, so there's not this floppy book you have to keep track of. It's a universal ID, so in the absence of a real ID, you can actually use that, and it qualifies anywhere where a passport would qualify as ID, so I like that about it. And also, it only gets you over the border. So if you leave the country, you're not qualified to use the passport card to do it. So if you fly to England, you have to have the book. If you fly to Australia, you have to have the book. If you just want to drive to Canada, all you need is the passport card. And I also like it because it's basically a United States identification as well. So if you need to if you have to bring in verification and just a passport will do it, the passport card will do it. And like I said, it's just cheaper. Some people actually have both. Because again, it's the same size as a regular ID. You can put it in a wallet. It's a little less clunky to carry around. It has your birth date on it, so you can use it to get into places where you have to show ID, where they may be serving alcohol or adults are only allowed. I don't even drink alcohol, but even to get into a bar, I could use the passport card as well, and it's considered a universal ID if you're getting a job and you have to either bring in a passport or your state ID and your social security card. And if you can just do the passport, you can also use the passport card. So that's kind of cool. And that's just extra bonuses of having it without having to commit to getting the full passport book. The biggest thing, the process is the same. You need the same verifications. It's just cheaper and it gets you into less places. I'm seeing a lot about shorts, which I barely ever use. Sorry, I'm spacing out here. Wow, I've already been on for 49 minutes. Jesus. A Just Be Fly Adventure hashtag RV Life says, I love your channel. I've been full-time in my RV going on a year. Awesome. And I've learned so much from you. I got the Jackery and I'm loving my new Iceco. I love my Iceco fridge. And I just like the way it's built. There is another fridge company that builds something similar, but I honestly love this Iceco fridge. Like, I love the way it's built. I love that it's magnetized. I can put magnets on it. It's great. Roma Safri says they love their Jackery 300 for a range of things they are using in their converted minivan. Angela H. question, are you on Patreon under the Dawn of Van Life 2? Yes, and there is always a link in the video description. If you hit the little arrow, there is a link to Patreon in the description of almost all of my videos. And also at the end of every video, you'll see a little Patreon icon pop up. Except the lives, not on the lives, but all the regular videos, like on Wednesday and Sunday, or days I posted because I didn't get to posting it on Wednesday and Sunday. You can just, sorry, I spaced out. You can just hit that and, go to Patreon. My brain just died as to where it was going. Tina the Outsider said, Dawn, are you going to fill the Patreons and memberships up to speed on your travels? Yes. This is a weird situation, which is why I haven't talked about it too much. And also, honestly, I was just ready to go, so I turned the engine on and turned around. So it wasn't even really like, I'm going to Niagara Falls. It was just like, all right, I can leave. I'm leaving. Bye. And I started driving. Big Mama says, what did I miss is Dawn in LA? I am not currently in LA, but I'll probably be there by tomorrow. Well, I see a Hey Freedom Dove. Is Freedom Dove in the chat? Yes, Freedom Dove's in the chat. Did I miss you while I was scrolling? Oh, White Wolf has a good question. Why did you pick a cat instead of a dog as a travel companion? Alright, so that's a good question. So when I went back to Baltimore, for two reasons. One, I hadn't been back to my home state in a couple of years, and I had a storage unit out there that I needed to close. When I originally came to California, it was only supposed to be for a year because I had an internship, for lack of a better thing to call it. And then I thought I was going to be back in Maryland within a year. This is part of the story. While I was there, I saw my old dog. I had this dog whose name was Jojo. He was a Dachshund Shih Tzu mix. And he did not look like he was a Dachshund Shih Tzu mix. He was absolutely adorable. He was this little brown, like, bundle of joy. And me and my roommate had that dog together. And I absolutely adored that dog, but it made no sense for me to take the dog. My ex-roommate, her and her then girlfriend, now wife, kept the dog. And I, came across the country to pursue what I thought might be a career opportunity. But I definitely would not have been able to have a pet. And even after I left, I still felt like Jojo was like my dog and that I just couldn't be with him. After a couple of years, it was pretty much their dog. Like, it was a dog I loved and whose life I'd been a part of, but it was no longer like my dog. But even still, I wanted to see him. So I went to see Jojo when I went to Baltimore. This is turning into story time. So guys, if you can believe it, I was a writer when I was younger, and I am arguably still a writer, which is why I can never answer a question simply. It's always story time. So let's continue. Honestly, after I saw Jojo, I knew I wanted a pet again. I considered the benefits of both a dog and a cat, and I even went to see a puppy that was, had owners that were trying to rehome it, while I was in Baltimore. And basically the situation didn't work out. The dog was sweet, but it was definitely, like, not that connection. And I was open. It could have been a dog, could could have been a cat. It could be either. I went one way or the other. And basically, when I went to see Mickey, because I went on Craigslist and I was just looking for animals that were looking to be rehomed. And when I went to see Mickey, that was it. Mickey was the one. I can't explain it. There was no, like, there are logical reasons why I feel like a cat worked better for me than a dog, but I honestly never raised a cat. So, like, when I decided to get Mickey, I was that nerd that was, like, on every piece of information I could find about raising cats. And then I found Jackson Galaxy, and I was, like, obsessed with Jackson Galaxy's channel. I had never owned a cat before. I had never raised a cat before. I'd been around other cats. I had cat-sitted cats, so I didn't have anything against them, but I definitely consider myself a dog person. And maybe it just was that JoJo was still very fresh, and having to leave JoJo was still very fresh. So either me and Mickey were meant to be together, or I just wasn't yet ready to have another dog, because I'd gone through this mourning period. Jeez, I'm about to cry. I definitely went through a mourning period over not having to have that little dog with me. And I was so happy when I went back to Baltimore and he remembered me. And he was happy to see me. And so maybe one of the reasons it didn't work out with the puppy was there's a space in my heart that still belongs to JoJo. And maybe getting Mickey felt like I wasn't replacing JoJo. You know? I was just adding to my life in some way. It's not a sad story. JoJo has two amazing pet parents who take such good, like, care of him. Wow, I didn't expect for that story to get emotional. Where's my, let's choose here. Sorry guys, that's rude. That is so rude. Whew. Alright. Ooh, I'm back. I'm okay. I'm fine. Woo! I could have gave the practical answer of reasons I think a cat worked for me, but, like, it's really more of an emotional thing, I think. Angela H says, before I sign up for a YouTube or Patreon membership, which one do you receive more of the money that is given? If you ask me about the two, I would say Patreon's more dependable, I think. With YouTube memberships, I honestly don't even know 100% how that all works. Because yes, I set a number, but basically super chats, ad revenue, and YouTube memberships all get bundled together. YouTube takes their cut, and I get what I get after YouTube takes their cut. You know, that's how it works. With Patreon, I just have a very clear idea of how that money's working. So that's what makes Patreon a little bit better, because it's independent of YouTube a little bit more. Yeah. But honestly, like, I'm just grateful any way people want to contribute. You know, it's I don't even know. Yeah, that's as much as I can give an answer to it. I'm still like in JoJo space, trying not to be JoJo brained. I'm gonna scroll a little bit fast now because we're getting close to the hour mark. And I'm mostly looking for questions, so I try to keep these around like an hour long. Carolyn Freebird, yes, the passport card is cheaper and the same size as the driver's license. I see the discussion of vaccinated. I'm vaccinated, so like anything that's a restriction for vaccination, like I got vaccinated a long time ago. So yeah. Not that anybody has to that doesn't want to, but like it wasn't that big of a deal to me. I went ahead and got vaccinated. Oh, it looks like somebody had a bad reaction to the vaccination. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm scrolling kind of fast, so I might be missing the context of some of the questions. Charles Hart says, okay, thank you for the passport card and book clarification because the paperwork women have to provide is ridiculous when you've been married and divorced. Oh my God, yes. That's why I don't think anybody should have to change their name who doesn't want to. Des the Hobo Traveling Nurse says you can always upgrade later. J.R. Raven, that is true. Cherry of Heart says, can you imagine someone married multiple times? My mother was married twice. And after she divorced my dad, and she was divorced from my dad my whole life. Like she divorced him when I was an infant. She kept the name Kelly for multiple reasons. One of them was it was easier with school registration and stuff for people. She liked the idea that we had the same last name in all situations. One. And two, changing your name is a pain in the butt. like people don't realize. They think, oh, you just get married, and then it's like, oh, I have his last name, and blah, 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 blah. Or whoever changes their name. It's like, no. Now, if you have email addresses that's your name at work, you have to go and get those changed. You have to go get your name changed on all your documents. Like, most of the time, the dude just gets to keep his name. Now, mind you, in non-heterosexual situations, you know, the rules are a little bit more screwy, or like you can choose who's going to be the one to change their name, or nobody could change their name, or you could do a combo name. Even though a lot of straight couples are doing that now too. They're doing combo names, or everybody's keeping their name. But you know what? I'm not mad at anybody for their decision, because I've seen what it takes to change your name on every document you own. And it is not fun. And it mostly falls on women. And it's not fun. Rhonda McKnight says, I had a black-white cat named Jojo. Oh, now we're catching up to the stories that happened during my story time. Kelly K says, Mickey was the one, I guess. Rhonda McKnight says, Mickey is so chill. He is the chillest cat. Like, it's crazy. Like, every horror story I've heard about a cat, he's never... I mean, like, also, like, I expect him to be a cat, so there's things I don't get mad at him for, because I'm like, okay, yeah, he's a cat, like, I should expect that, but he's also, like, not been a nightmare, like, in any way. J.R. Raven says, my cat Stitch, that's a name, at 4.5 years old is quite the snickerdoodle. Kelly K says, you adopted an old orange lady, she needed me, oh. Freedom Dove says, that's how my Stella cat came to us. She was so vocal when she was walking through the animal shelter that I couldn't ignore her. Oh, I got some cyber hugs coming through. Princess Pamela says, orange tabbies are very dog-like. I lived with one named Puppy. He was obsessed with playing fetch. Penny Walter says, I've watched Jackson too. I'm obsessed with Jackson Galaxy. I am subscribed to his YouTube channel. I will stop life to watch one of his cat videos. even if it's unrelated to any behavior that Mickey is exhibiting. I'm like, Jackson Galaxy, yes. Freedom Dove says, "Oh, JoJo sounds like a nice little pet. He was adorable. He was adorable in A Nightmare, but he was a good dog. He just was a dog that needed to be an only dog. Because he don't want nobody else in his space. He is an alpha. I would say he's more of an alpha than Mickey. Like, Mickey's pretty chill. JoJo is an alpha. he was a little alpha with his little self. Risa Forrester said, "Our dogs, man, nothing like them. We love the genuine, real answer. Thank you." Colorful Krista says, "Cats rule. Mine is a tabby, and her name is Luna. I adore her so much. Luna is such a great name." And I will say, I have loved seeing how cats are different. How, you know, affectionate they can be, with all the stereotypes about cats as these aloof, sort of unloving creatures. Sorry, my nose is itching. I'm going to scratch it. It's been interesting to see how loving a cat can actually be. You know, like, he responds to his name. I've heard cats don't respond to their name. He responds to it. Like, when I say Mickey, he looks at me. Like what? Or when I, like, baby talk to him and he rolls around and shows me his belly, and that's, like, completely a vulnerable position. Like, cats do not do that unless they trust you. So finding out how loving cats can be, and also, like, how much I have a cat-like personality. Like, I can be very affectionate, but when I'm done, I'm done. I just want to go off into my corner and be alone for, like, 8 hours. like that. You know, I can feel that type of vibe. Trevor says, "I think you meant leave her while Dawn does regular." Oh! Is she in the chat? I don't know. I must have missed her. Demalia J's Jelena's in the chat. Hi. I see a reference to leave her wild. So if you're in the chat, hey. Demelia J says, "Mickey was so cute even though his whiskers had been clipped. Dawn, you're an amazing pet lover. Thank you so much. It seems no matter dog or cat, I feel you, sis, on the emotions are heartfelt in me." Thank you so much. Robert says, "If you get a second cat, make sure it's a girl and name her Minnie." Minnie and Mickey. Leave Her Wild is in the house. Okay, I'm getting confirmation. I don't see it in the chat. Oh, there we are. Leave Her Wild. Hey, Des. That's what she said. That's not what I said, because Des has been here. Ninth Element says, "Are you going to come to Oregon to see Jelaine?" Yes, eventually I'm going to Oregon, but right now I'm going south. Which you guys will know more about later once I get there. And also, I've been texting Jelena, so we've been in contact. Joanna Goodman says, "I didn't change my name." I had a friend who didn't change her name because she was like, she was married to this man for, like, I don't know, like a long time, a couple of decades, and she never changed her name because she's like, "I'm not going through changing my name on all those documents." Angela H, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, "Buy Mickey a toy or something. I'll join Patreon next week." Thank you so much. Robert Dragoff said, "How about hyphenated names?" If any name you want represented in legal documents, it's still going to be a pain to change. Also, like, I always question hyphenated names because I'm like, what if the next person wants a hyphenated name? Like, how far does it go? how do you resanction the name? Like any situation where you're changing names, it's also just like, you know, getting all the other stuff that has your name on it changed. For stuff like your email address, like if you have a hyphenated name, it may not be such a big deal. You're like, I'm Wilson Harrison. That's an ugly name. Combined together. I'll just leave it with Wilson and not make it Wilson Harrison. So yeah. Freedom Dove says, I kept my married name when I got my divorce. It was easier than going back to my hard to pronounce maiden name. Susan Arrington says, I changed mine and was no big deal. Of course, 41 years ago when computers were not around. I think it depends on like how many things it affects. Because like if you just have to change your driver's license or something, it may not be that big a deal. But like, yeah, now you have email addresses associated with your name. And also like some people have been represented in business by a certain name. And so especially if your name becomes like your brand or something you're significant, and I'm not even just talking about like YouTube and social media. Like if you are even in something like real estate and you're known as like, I don't know, make up something, Emily Ross, you know, and so your name is associated with you as Emily Ross, which isn't that unique of a name, and you're getting recommendations based on people's history with Emily Ross, and suddenly you're Emily Fitzgerald. There's no reason for me to believe this is the same person. So if people have whole like systems built around their name, it's really hard to just change it, and you've seen this with celebrities for a long time. So they'll change their legal records, but for all their business documents, like especially for like singers and actors and actresses, like all their business documents will still have to say this, but there's all these situations where then they have to explain the disparity of these two names. And a lot of people don't want to go through that, so they're like, I'm just going to keep my name and not change it. So yeah. And I'm just saying, I sympathize with what people have to go through when they change their name, one. And two, I understand everybody who decides not to. So there's two different schools of thought on the matter. There's the school of thought of, you know what? I don't feel like I should have to change my name. I like my name. I want to keep my name, etc., etc. And then the second school of thought is, yes, it's difficult, but I like that we all have the same name. And in my mom's case, specifically, she was a foster child. She always wanted to be adopted so that she shared the same name as her family. When she was 14, she went to live with the woman that I called my grandmother, knew as my grandmother, was my actual grandmother my entire life, and she was not my biological grandmother. When she went to live with my grandmother, she was 14. So the woman she considered quote-unquote her real mother, not her biological mother, but quote-unquote her real mother, and she always made that distinction. This is the distinction she made. She never had their name, and there was a disconnect for her specifically in that. I don't know why I'm going on about this, but there was a disconnect for her specifically that I felt even more as I grew up and I started to understand her situation. Because there was a point where I asked her why she didn't have any baby pictures, and she was like, it's because I was a foster child. And then as I, got older, I also had to make my peace with that, because I had no idea for, I think, like the first 8 to 10 years of my life that my grandmother and my aunts and stuff weren't my biological family, at least, my mother's family. And I didn't really know my father's family until I was an adult. But for her, there was a lot of weight, even though it was just an emotional thing, because it really means nothing. Like her mother was her mother in her heart, even though they didn't share the same name. But for her, there was such pride in a family sharing a name, you know? So I can understand somebody wanting that, like feeling that makes you more connected to share this family name. And therefore, even though it's difficult, being like, you know what, whatever I have to do, I want, you know, the world to know that we are one family under this name. And I can also see the perspective of, I had an identity, and even though I'm sharing a life with someone else, I don't feel like I need to give up my identity and go through all the stress of changing, you know, how I'm represented in this world by taking their name. I'm okay with us being together and still having separate names, even acknowledged as a legal married couple and whatever. So I can see both perspectives. I don't know how this became a part of the live stream. Oh, good. I done talked about my dog Jojo. I done talked about my mama's business. Rest in peace, Mom. Jesus. I'm reading a lot of stuff about cats that's making me smile, but also, like, I always try to focus on the hour mark about wrapping up the chat. Lisa Richards says, cats do know their names if you teach it to them by using it for them. Good grief. Exactly. Like, if you have some cat, you never call them their name, but you just give it to them, or you call them something else. I've also seen that. Like, they'll name the cat, like, I don't know, Beyonce. There actually was a cat named Beyonce. But then you call the cat, like, BB. The cat don't know their name's Beyonce. Or if you just call them Kitty all the time, like, here, Kitty, Kitty. They are like, okay, my name's Kitty. Like, you know. Janice says, why were Mickey's whiskers clipped and didn't they grow back? They did grow back. He has a proud set of whiskers now. And I do not know why the woman clipped his whiskers. I'm going to assume she didn't know better. So yeah. Glorious Life on Wheels said, we had a little fellow named Jojo. He was a bit of a terror. Our current four-legged companion is named Cuddles, which fits into a T. I had a worse situation when I was younger. My mom got this puppy for me, and the puppy's name was Angel. I named him Angel because, honestly, it wasn't because I thought the puppy was an angel. At the time, I was obsessed with the TV show Angel, which was about a vampire, which is interesting because in the Buffy universe, vampires are demons. And unfortunately, this is the first dog, and my mom was heartbroken about it, that we ended up not being able to keep because the dog only liked me. And he snapped at my mom one time when my mom came in to wake me up for school. And she was like, I cannot have a dog in this house that might bite me. So I named the dog Angel, and it was the behaviorally not the best dog for the family. So yeah. Ninth Element says, Dawn, I will email you my information. I would like to... Oh, that would be awesome. Like, yeah, definitely drop me an email when I head back north. That is good to know. Hi, Mickey. He was hanging out in the cab. He likes to sit in the cab sometimes. And he just came back here. Norma Mead said, I've had several cats in my last 4 years and they all responded to their names. They also understood my request because they were trained very well and humored me when I had a That's basically how it is with cats. Yeah, like Mickey sometimes, you know, he'll be in a play mood and he will like grasp onto my hand and he's just playing. And I'm like, Mickey hurt, and I just stop moving and I'm like, Mickey hurt, and he lets go. Like, he just lets go. By the way, I'm gonna grab him. Mickey, say hi. Say hi, buddy. You're like, no, I don't wanna. I don't wanna say hi. I don't wanna say hi. 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 He's like, can we not? That was also called Mickey humoring me. Robert Dagoff says showbiz people have stage names. Not necessarily. Sometimes they have their name. They establish their career under their name. And so when and if they get married, they may not want to change their name for those reasons. In the past, it used to be very common to have a stage name anyway that was completely disassociated from your actual name. And also some unions, like SAG, which is movie actors union, and Equity, which is the theater actors union, you can't have the same name as someone else. So sometimes those names are completely disassociated from like your quote unquote legal name because they have to be. So like Vanessa Williams, the singer, when she gets credited for acting, is like Vanessa L. Williams because there's already somebody in the union named Vanessa Williams. So yeah, there's that situation too, where there's a forced stage name, i.e. somebody actively exists in the union with that name, and therefore you cannot use your own name in the union. But also people just use their regular names far more often now than they used to. People used to like say, oh, that name's not going to work for the stage, and so they would create a stage name. But a lot of times people now are just using their regular names, and then they establish a career under that name. And so it effectively becomes a stage name, even though it was their actual name. But then sometimes later in life they get married or something. Yeah. I was supposed to be wrapping up and getting off here, guys. I don't know how we got into a subject of names. I've never changed my name in my life. At this point, I'm scrolling for questions. I see somebody answered the whisker question. Janice Williams, I just want to read this because it's actually true. For some foster kids, that's a big deal in security and permanency. And yes, I know that was a big deal for my mom. Like, even as an adult, when my grandmother unfortunately passed away, she did not want to ask for too much. Because even as a fully grown woman, I'm talking about, this is a woman in her, like, 40s, maybe 50s. I hate to say I kept losing track of my mama's age, because, like, she was just mama. She was older than me. But even then, as an adult, and I'm talking about an adult, I'm not talking about a 20-year-old woman, she was afraid of her siblings, who never would. My aunts and uncles would never do this, but she was afraid that if she asked for anything, she would get reminded that she wasn't actually my grandmother's child. And it never would have happened, but she lived with that fear her entire life. So yeah, names and like having the same name and that legitimacy, it really meant a lot to her. Paul Sherman says, Dawn, have you named your box truck? Honestly, I've never named a vehicle, ever. That's a lie. I named my first car. Because it seemed like something everybody did. And that car got totaled in maybe 2 months. And maybe it was like I don't want to be attached thing, but I have not, and even cars I've had for years, like I have never named a vehicle since. Like, so it's just not something I've done. So yeah, I haven't named the box truck. And maybe there's this weird association that sort of attachment leads to losing it or something. This is not what I planned to talk about. I actually had a list of things I was going to talk about. I don't even know if I covered it. Well, I talked about insurance at the beginning. I wrote down touring because I knew it was going to come up. Yeah. And I've hit the road. So I told you guys that. So I did cover my points. Even though we got way off the subject. We started talking about passport cards, which I'm glad I talked about because a lot of people don't know the passport card exists and that you can get that and save some money and not get the full book. And it'll at least allow you to drive over the border and have, you know, even if you can get over the border without it, you should have a passport. So if anything happens, you are identified as a U.S. citizen with, like, here's my U.S. ID. So I'm glad we talk about passport cards because some people don't know they exist. They think you have to get the book and you don't. And I didn't see myself getting on a flight anytime soon. I talked about my mom. I talked about little JoJo. I don't know. I wish I could pull up a picture real quick so you guys could see JoJo. Keep a look on the community page and I might post a picture of JoJo if I can find one. Because he was a cute little dog. He looked like he was half dachshund. Oh, look, Mickey's up top. Look at him walking across the shelves. I love to see him up there. Like, it makes me so happy that he uses his shelves. The Fat Cat Adventures X, am I done with the Bay Area? I am not. I'm just not there because I'm done with it for now. I'm done because I was trapped there for a while. I talked at the beginning of the live stream, like, the Bay Area will always be a part of me. I have way too many significant friendships there. I will always end up back in the Bay Area at some point. And then I'll get sick of it and leave. And I'll come back. So yes, I also have not left California. I just left the Bay Area. I'm still very much in California. And probably will be in California till the end of the month at least. I'm just south instead of north. Kathy, you're going to sleep and I'm probably late. There's Mickey right there. Ninth Element, I've shown Mickey off several times during this live stream. I showed him at the beginning because I was like, people gonna ask where is Mickey? And he was eating. He had just got finished eating. But like sometimes he's just places where it'd be hard to put him on camera. But right now he's like right there. He can hear the trucks outside because we're at a rest area, and so like there's like big trucks right behind us. Eileen says, I put down a payment on the shuttle bus. Awesome. Mickey has actually been awake this whole live stream. I showed him at the beginning. He was on in the middle. And now he's crawling across the shelves. There he goes. And now he's about to go on his cabinet. There he is. That's his spot. They don't care about me, Mickey. They just want to see you. They're like, where's Mickey at? Mickey, hi. See, look right at me. Des the Hobo Traveling Nurse says, Dawn, do you recommend using floor panels or individual planks? I don't know because I would have had to use both to make that decision. So ask me in a year when I've sort of lived in this box truck a while with my choice. MP Mar says yes, and I thank Des for the super chat earlier in the thread. And said she's awesome because she is. Also because she's just a general supporter. Like when she supports, it's also in like showing up, watching videos, leaving comments, and then being extremely generous on top of that. So absolutely, she's an awesome human being. Grumpy Old Witch says, what's the deal with the hour mark on YouTube? The reason why I try to keep the live streams for the to an hour is just for their replay factor. It's just generally like, because basically this is going to get turned into a video that's going to sit on the channel forever. Some people watch them, some people see how long is this and they don't rewatch them. Also, it's just a control element for me. To be like, okay, I'm going to try to wrap this up in an hour. Demelia J says, Dawn, check your Cash App. Let me see. How do phones work? I'm too old for this cellular phone business. How cellular phones work? No. What is this technology? So since we're talking about my mama, since I've talked about my mama today, thank you so much on the Cash App. I'm gonna send you a heart. For the $25, which will go to the savings account or the gas account, one or the other. I was going to talk about technology. So, funny story about my mom. I remember when cell phones started having cameras and she thought they were so stupid. She was like, I don't understand why you need a camera on a cell phone. It's so dumb. It's a phone. It's for calling. Blah, 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 blah. And so, then, of course, there was a point where every phone came with a camera. And, she would see a child who had been born, and she's like, Dawn, come look at the baby. I got pictures of the baby. She was so excited about like these pictures she had on her phone. And then of course there came a point where the phone died. It wasn't charging, technology had moved on, and she just held on to this phone because she didn't know what to do about the pictures that were trapped on the phone. And I was like, Mom, we can get the pictures off and move them to a new device. It's okay. Yeah. Dakota asks, how did you come up with Mickey's name? I don't know. His name was Mickey. Like, when I got him, actually, his name was Tiger. And I thought that was boring. Because I'm like, oh, orange cat, Tiger, of course. I was like, I don't really like it. And I was like, Mickey. Like, I have no idea. His name was Mickey. Corey Bose, what's up? I was supposed to leave at the hour mark, Des, and I'm still here. I see Dawn, please don't go yet. AS Rubit, the box truck is not finished. I would say I'm at the 95% mark of finish. And here's the thing. I know everybody's going to say the build is never done. That is true to an extent. When I did my minivan, wasn't a big deal. I bought some stuff and started living in it. So there wasn't like this build, quote unquote, that I planned for. When I started the box truck, it was completely different. It was like I had a plan of things I wanted to say that I am done. Do I think I will never change anything again after I reach that point? No. But I do think there is, when you plan a build that way, when you go into it knowing what you want and what you consider the point of completion, there is a different sense of done. Like, done for me with the minivan was I went to Target and I went to the camping store and I bought some stuff and I put it in there. By the end of the day, I was done. With this, I had much more ambitious goals, some of which I've reached, some of which I've given up, and some of which I at least want to try to complete before I call it done for now. And it'll always be done for now because there always will be something that, you know, I'll be like, oh, that didn't work as well. Let me try this other thing. And that's just the nature of this lifestyle. Janice says, are those shelves specifically for him? Yes. It was very intentional. The cabinets are not flush so that he can get on them. So there's cabinet, shelf. So it's cabinet, shelf. Then there's another shelf. And then on this side, there's more shelves. And those are all for him. It's specifically so he can walk around the entire top without having to come down if he doesn't want to. Is he still up there? He's still up there. Des, I see the question about the panel sheet flooring on individual planks. Honestly, I think a better person to act is Isaac on Schooliana, because he builds buses. For me, I'm still in the experimental phase of, there's stuff that if I did this again, I wouldn't use that again. Like, these ceiling sheets made sense in theory. They were not the easiest thing to do in execution. I'm not taking them down. They're staying right up there. But the project board that I used, it was very difficult to handle because it was so big. But for floor, I'm not sure. Because all I did was put down the subfloor, and I haven't put down my final floor yet. And the final floor I'm using, I've heard somebody say they had a bad experience with. Now, I bought it, so I'm going to try it out and see how I feel about it, but I don't feel like I have enough experience to make a recommendation on a floor, which is why I would say, like, I would reach out to Isaac, just because he's done more of that kind of work and has the experience of more than one build. I answered that question. Maybe it went back on me. Might have went back on me. Carolyn Freebird says, hey Dawn, did you ever get my text message or voice message thinking I may have your number incorrect? Send me an email and ask me if you have the correct number. One Iron Bell, I am not leaving California. I've just gone south and left the Bay Area specifically because I've been in the Bay Area way too long. I will say this about California. California is very weird. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's a bad thing. California is very beautiful. It is most of the West Coast, with the exception of Washington and Oregon. It is the majority of the West Coast. There is a lot of land in California. There are a lot of beautiful places in California. I have not begun to explore California by being chained to the Bay Area specifically. So I, one, will never leave California permanently, like ever. If my legal registration changes at some point, that might happen. But I will always have a part of my heart in the Bay Area, California as home. It's weird. I really feel like I became an independent adult, which is funny because I didn't get there until I was 37 years old. And it feels like home. It like when people ask where I'm from, even though I'm originally from Maryland and I love Maryland and I still call that my home state, I still think of the Bay Area as a place I'm very attached to and where I go back to when I think of downtime. And that has to do with the network I've developed there, and the friendships I've developed there. So there will always, there is no ever leaving California permanently. And especially, not California as a whole, because I don't consider myself going back to LA all the time. Like, I've been to LA maybe 3 times. I've been to San Diego once, and it was a negative experience. But that had to do with weather reasons back then. I would go back because I think I need to give San Diego another chance. I've been to Santa Barbara once, and those are not home. They're just places in California very far away from home, like 6 to 8 hours away from home. The Bay Area, for all its quirks and weird stuff, and even the expense, there's still a part of it that feels good to me when I'm there, when it comes to people in the environment and all that other kind of stuff. So there will be, I'm leaving, maybe, I might leave it, especially right now, for like months. You know, unless I get a job and I go back to do that. But, yeah, there's no ever leaving California permanently, and there's definitely not leaving the Bay Area permanently. California is a huge chunk of the United States, and I want to explore as much of the United States as I can before I die. I see some. Freedom Dove says, I miss my flip phone. I do too. Why am I still on the line? Kathy says it's 10:45 here. Charv Heart says, my mom was like that with the computer, but she would get on Xbox to watch movies and does search on her phone. Oh, okay. I know I was supposed to wrap this up 40 minutes ago, but another story about my mom. So back when people used to have iPods, you remember when the iPod Touch came out, and it was basically the first iPhone with like out the phone function? Well, I got my mom the iPod Touch because I was like, it's going to be really easy. You only have to touch the screen. She'll be good. And then I sneakily took all of her CDs and I ripped them into MP3s on the computer. So all of her music that she liked, all her old, well, I guess the music I like is oldies now, but all of what was at the time, her oldies like R&B, all the stuff she liked, all the stuff that was in her CD music collection, I put on this iPod Touch. So all she had to do was open it up and listen. I also got her the like clock radio, so she could sit on the clock radio and play her music and still have a clock radio, because she used a clock radio till the day she died, even after she was retired. And the only thing my mom ever did on that iPod Touch was play solitaire. She was like, Dawn, I can't figure out how to play the music. So I showed her how to play the music. And the song stops. And she's like, Dawn, how do I play another song? And then she played solitaire. All the time. You know the comparative price of an iPod Touch at that time to a little handheld solitaire game? Like, it just became an expensive solitaire. Oh man, I love my mom. I miss her so much. Oh man. Layla says, is there anything you want to build for Mickey that the box truck can't accommodate? Not at this time. Actually, I got rid of his cat tree. Because he has the shelves now, and as he started to use those more, I went ahead and transitioned out his old cat tree because it was a mess. Like, it was just a mess, and it wasn't worth the scrubbing it would have taken to keep it, and also it just would have took up too much space, so I let it go. Let it go. Mickey. Mickey. He's ignoring me. Dude. What are you doing? I don't know. That's a cat. He knows his name. He's ignoring me. Colleen the cat lady says, as Jackson would say, your van is catified. Penny's mom also likes solitaire. Woo! There was another super chat. Sorry, Lumberjacks. I'm just seeing this. Thank you for the $2. I really should wrap up this live stream. S. Rubit, I think, yeah, I've already driven through Fresno. Not to be too specific, but Fresno's in my rear view mirror. Big Mama says, I love San Diego, but you do need to be in the right area. Hillcrest is fun. I also didn't have that much time. And back in the days when it used to rain in California, because just after I got here, it just became drought, constant drought. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm going to walk over here. I'll be back. When I was in San Diego, I was rushed. So I didn't really get to take it in and enjoy it, and it rained. So I was just like stuck in my minivan in the rain, and I was in a time crunch, so then I just had to leave. So that's why I didn't have a positive experience. It wasn't anything like super bad. It was just like, yeah. I'm seeing a lot of people liking the solitaire. Freedom Dove is going to bed. Good night. Oh, it looks like. Oh no, she's saying good night to everyone who says they're leaving. I'm sorry, Freedom Dove. Even though I need to go to bed too, because I want to put some miles. Janice said he's ignoring me because he's still pissed about it. He has like the world up top. Why is he still pissed about his cat tree? And now it does look like he's pissed because he turned his back on me. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. Rescue Dog Trees, thank you for the $9.99 super chat. Robert, thank you for the $9.99 super chat. Get something for lunch. Okay. Big Mama, that's so funny. She said, when my dad retired, I would stop by the house and he would be playing solitaire and eating cookies in his underwear. Solitaire, the game of choice. You don't need a PS5, you just need solitaire. Okay, so now I'm obsessed with his extinct cat tree. What does he get to scratch his claws on? First of all, there's this thing, and he freaking loves this thing. I had another thing, and it was a tall thing, and when he scratched it, it would fall. And so he stopped using it. He uses that thing every day. So we went through about 4 different scratching options. Honestly, I've just been buying cheap things because I watched back to Jackson Galaxy. I watched a Jackson Galaxy video where he was advising someone who had bought this beautiful cat tree that the cats weren't scratching on. And then they also had the scratcher from their foster home. And it turned out that the cats actually preferred scratching. Apparently not all cats like the same scratch positions. So I was like, well, let me get something tall and let me get something flat and let me see what he uses the most. And he uses that thing every day since I'm bought. Sometimes he's just laying in it. He's not even scratching it. So he actually likes that better than the vertical thing I had. So I'm keeping that. And I also have this thing right here. And this is a little more stable, but it does give him a little bit of a vertical. And in addition to that, ow, that hurt. Now I'm going through all my cat stuff. This thing hangs on the wall. And he does play around with this. Sometimes he just bats it around. Sometimes he attacks this, and sometimes he will scratch on this. So I have this hanging as well. So yeah, and I just watch to see what he used the most, like what positions he likes. He seems to really like this new one right here. Like when I stop the truck, because when I'm driving, he's always underneath my seat. When I stop the truck, he's like, "Why do you have my thing? That's mine. Put it down." He's always in this. Like, he's in this all the time. And it just sits on the floor. He'll scratch in it. He'll lay in it. He'll roll in it. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of catnip in it, but, you know, he really likes this. So, yeah, it was just a bunch. After watching that Jackson Galaxy video, hi, Mickey. It was just a bunch of experimentation just to see what he actually used. So, yeah, I spend way too much on cat stuff. But at least now I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm not wasting money, because there was a lot of cat stuff I actually donated to a pet place before I left the Bay, because it was stuff he never touched. He never touched it. He never played with it. I thought it was cute. He could give a crap about it. Like, for play, he pretty much likes feather on a stick. That's it. Feather on a stick and rubber bands. If he has feather on a stick and rubber bands, his life is complete. That's all he needs to play. Feather on a stick with Dawn and rubber bands when they fall on the floor and he's bored. Angela Carter says, my Cooper only wants to scratch on raw wood, so we laid 1x4s against the wall. He loved it. Ooh, that's a good idea. Because there's one place where he always stretches, and I've just accepted he's going to, like, put his claws into the wood. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I can live with that. But that's a good idea. I might have to steal that. Now he's trying to figure out the reason behind the poke. Freedom Dove says, my cats were amused by those things for about 10 minutes. Lisa says he's totally watching you touch his stuff. He's probably coming down to make sure I didn't mess it up. He's like, let me check this stuff out and make sure she didn't mess up everything. Mom, stop messing with my stuff. Freedom Dove says, I've wasted so much money on my... Me too. And some of it was just like me. We buy stuff that we think is cute, and the cat's like, this is stupid. Like, I got him one of those things with the ball. He has never batted a ball in his life. He doesn't see the point. He will bat a rubber band around this entire floor. But if I buy him a ball, he'll look at it and say, what am I supposed to do with that? Angela Carter, my box is an 8x10. There are times there are times when I'm driving that I wish it was smaller. For my space to live in, it's perfect. I don't at this time think I would go any bigger. Yeah. I like how the people are amused by Mickey watching me as I touch his stuff. Penny Walter, he would not pay attention to aluminum. He doesn't care. It is rubber bands, hair ties, because also, like, to keep my hair out my face, now it looks really ugly. It looks better when it's kind of falling down. I have a hair tie and have a bag of them. If I drop one of those on the floor, he'll chase that. If I drop a rubber band, he'll chase that. He'll play with zip ties. He will play with twist ties. He does not like balls. Balls of paper, balls of aluminum, balls that I buy, those little soft cat balls. Like, he just does not care. He's like, this is stupid. What do you want me to do with this? I don't care. But a hair tie? Oh my gosh, he noticed that's on the ground. That's it. That's his toy. He all into it. The world is a rubber band. That is the only thing he will play with independently. And then for our interactive play, it's all about the feather. Feather on a stick. I've got other things on a stick. Like, I had a little mouse that squeaked. Didn't care. Feather on a stick. He's on it. Freedom Dove says, my cats love the caps of plastic bottles. They're like little hockey pucks. Tina says, be careful with the rubber bands, though. I actually try to take them away. I'm saying when they fall on the floor, he's after it. And I don't catch them all the time. And I have to stop laughing because it's so funny. Woo, it's almost been 2 hours. I was supposed to be off an hour ago, guys. My time, it's 9 o'clock, which means for some of the people that's not on the West Coast or in my time zone, it is really late. Penny Walter said he'd like the ring from a milk jug. I never thought of that because it's a circle. And he likes to bat around those and chase them, but he doesn't like the ball. He just likes those circular objects that kind of like spring, I guess. Because a ball rolls and he doesn't seem to care, but like if something springs, he tends to go after it. Alright, I'm done. I'm wrapping it up, guys. I've talked about my mom. I've showed off Mickey's toys. And I'll show one more thing. So this is a cheap little rug. Mickey's like, stop touching. Told you he likes this thing. Like that. He loves that thing. So anybody worried, that's all he needs. He loves it. I can't believe I'm showing a video of my cat, like, scratching. But I got this rug that says, you have me at meow. I fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. Mickey, were you making sure I didn't mess up your stuff? Huh? Are you making sure I didn't mess up your stuff? Yes? Yes, Mickey? Huh? You crazy boy? Love you. I love you so much. Alright. I need to go to bed. Oh man. Good night, everybody.